Let that sink in for a minute. The Old Testament was written hundreds of years after the New Testament. The New Testament was assembled in 325 AD by Emperor Constantine in the Council of Nicaea. Then 2 years later, 327, they had to call back the council because they left something out that was critical for Catholic faith. They left out the statues that the priests would sit on the altars. Right? That's a critical clue because that's Babylonian priesthood. And this is the black box that they're talking about. And the black box you call the Kaaba. So when you realize what they're doing, they're trying to hold ancient Babylonian rites together. When they hold these Babylonian rites together, then they can have you doing your self-sacrifice to their deity, their God, Yahweh, Allah. Allah is Ninursin. Yahweh is Enlil, his father, right? Bahal, the dad, was both Enlil and Enki had sons who held that title. So they switch names, they change genders, they cross-dress, anything they can do to mislead you, but they always leave you a clue. They forever leaving a clue. They got to leave a clue or else they're being in violation of galactic law. And they follow that shit, but they will bend the fuck out of a rule before they break it. They will have that motherfucker twisted up like a pretzel before they break it. So, in all of their falsehoods, they gave us a little bit of truth. So when we thought that we were being made mockery of by blackface, white faces was telling black faces who was behind the white faces. And we thought it was mockery by parody when it was revelation of truth by motherfuckers being used as the fall guy, the Coat Sievers, the crash dummy, the stunt man, the stunt double, the lookalike, the actor-like, the one who take the fall for the ones who really doing the job. Them motherfuckers, right? They don't want to be nobody crash dummy, nobody Coat Sievers, stunt man. They don't want to do motherfucking real life motherfucking crash dummy tests in GM, Ford, and Chrysler vehicles while they smash into the wall to see if they gonna survive it. Don't nobody want to be in that motherfucking dumbass spot. And then at the end, when everybody get mad, you supposed to be the motherfucker that they kill just because you look different. That's fucking retarded shit. I once asked Brother Hardiel about this shit. And he said, you know what, brother? He had a real raspy voice. He said, brother, you a wise African. They can't fool a wise African. So they ain't going to be able to fool you. I said, God damn, Hardiel. I ain't no African, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand that trail you laying down, right? So he introduced me to Dr. Ben. I was already up on Dr. Clark. He introduced me to Dr. Valentine. He gave me about 20 Dr. Valentine tapes. I was so OD'd on Dr. Valentine, I didn't want to hear nothing else he had to say. Whew, he gave me so much Dr. Valentine to listen to. But he also gave me books to read by different people too. Hardiel that's a good ass man right there. That's a good, I don't like to say good brother, because when them dirty Moors finna come at you for some bullshit, they always say, listen here, good brother, let me holler at you for a minute. As soon as I hear that shit, my motherfucking skin go to crawling. Don't call me fucking good brother. You call me good brother, I'm so suspicious of your ass out the gate. I'm so suspicious that you don't know that suspicious could be that suspicious. I'm telling you. But anyway, Hardiel got a heart of gold. That's why his last name Hart, because he got a heart of gold. And he break bread with you. He give you all the knowledge you want. A1 brother, A to Z. I was with him for about a year in Riverside Correctional. But when I was locked up, I loved me some Atlantics. Most of us don't know about a group called the Atlantic Palace of the Rising Sun out of Detroit that was formed. It was created in the Michigan Department of Corrections And they hold Nat Turner. The idea of Nat Turner is the ideal prophet. Nat Turner is the prophet for the Melanic Palace of the Rising Sun. And so the brothers there was so like, they was like over the top with the knowledge tip, with the I don't give a fuck, right is right, wrong is wrong type shit. Them was my dudes. Anyway, so I had a lot of them that dropped a lot of knowledge on me. Some of them was taking that shit to the extreme before they even got to the roots. So, but so what they thought they was gonna do is start this helter skelter shit. See, they tried to put Manson up to it. See, you might as well just hang up your motherfucking shit, cause if you trust her, you a brave motherfucker. And that's all I got to say about that. I'm not that goddamn brave. I tried it, it didn't work. Anyway, so the different people that came with different pieces of information, right? I spent a lot of time with the brothers in the nation, a lot of times with Nuwabians, a lot of time with Sunnis. Them Sunnis is crazy. Them Sunnis is fanatical, like crackhead fanatical about a religious doctrine. I don't fuck with them. They be wrong. They the ones who put the hit out on Salman Rushdie for writing a book called Satanic Verses, because they said that it was a parody of the Prophet Muhammad. They don't even know that the Prophet Muhammad really, the character of the book comes from Rome. So that shit right there. Whew. So everybody had a different way to make us look over the water. Garvey said, form a confraternity. See, everybody talking this shit about Marcus Garvey, want everybody to go set up an empire in Africa. That ain't what Garvey taught. See, they take the stance of us working with Pan-Africanists in Africa as being that they want us all to just pack our shit and move to Africa. Was the dumbest shit I ever heard. And I read through all the Garvey stuff, everything I could find, written by him or somebody wrote about him. I see a bunch of people saying return home, but I don't see no bunch of motherfuckers say we all need to go to Africa, because everybody ain't from no fucking Africa. That's just the way it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So let me show y'all something. Because of Garvey saying get a good formal confraternity, and if you're gonna join politics, be a Pan-Africanist. Pan mean global. A global Africanist. Africa mean tying back to the land over there, the tribal structures. Because you gotta remember, in the early 1900s, they just now starting to penetrate the interiors of Africa after they've assaulted it from all sides. So when you look back to Africa with a clear view of Pan-Africanism, of studying the global Africa, you'll see that they're going through the same thing we going through, and they got the same motherfuckers invading them that we got invading us. We just ain't got the shit to realize. That's what the Berlin Conference was about. Because once they thought they had us under control, then they doubled back and held the Berlin Conference. Okay, now that we got them motherfuckers over there under control, what we gonna do about these niggas over here? See, so in the Berlin Conference, they divided Africa up into lines of demarcation to make countries. Africa wasn't divided up by countries like this, which y'all see in this modern map. Africa was divided up by tribal rights to cleanse the land. It had nothing to do with modern politics. All the way up until recently, they started drawing these lines of demarcation that's based on the Berlin Conference. So if you following what Garvey said, you're going to run into a guy named Stephen Biko. You're going to run into a writer named Sheikh Anta Diop. You're going to run into a writer named Walter Rodney. You're going to run into a writer named Frantz Fanon. And you're going to run into a whole bunch of motherfuckers say, why do y'all keep thinking y'all came to fuck from over here? Nigga, you from over there. The Africans in Africa keep telling us that we from over here, and we keep arguing them down, say, Master Good Book say, I'm from over there. I came on a ship, and I was shackled and chained for 90 days, crossed them waters. Get the fuck out of here. Yes, I don't never want to forget about Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley was the one pulled the lines of communication for the Masonic orders all the way out in the open. Oh, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus, but he also edited African Presence in Early Europe, African Presence in Early Asia, African Presence in Early America, and he laid that shit out. They came before Columbus, like nigga don't believe Columbus was the first one of the scouts they sent over here. They had already scouted you out before Columbus came. They just was coming to fulfill sending Columbus to sea. Read the memoirs of Columbus. Read what he wrote in his diary, the diaries of Columbus. He said that these gonna be some easy motherfuckers to overthrow down here, because these motherfuckers believe in some shit called love and prosperity and treat your brother the way you treat yourself. All that shit in this book. Right, but Steve Coakley didn't understand where the boule was so when he was talking about the boule, he was talking based on French noble standards and French nobility, and the boule would be the commoners who worked throughout the community to relay information back to the crown. That's what he got the term boule for. He called them the black boule because he said they was feeding the information back to the so-called white man. But Steve Coakley never discovered the fact that the goddamn white man ain't even white. He didn't never discover that fact. Because had he discovered that fact, he would have took a 180-degree turn and he'd have seen the real enemy, and then he'd have had a whole bunch of support, because he would have seen clearly the devil face to face, and that's when all hands would have been on deck to back Steve Coakley up, and they wouldn't have let him poison him. I didn't know if I was supposed to tell y'all he got poisoned. But he was putting motherfuckers on the trail so thick, right? Because, now remember, Noble Drew Ali said, I took all of the secrets out the secret societies, put it in public domain. All of the fraternal orders come through the Prince Hall schools, except for the ones that's called Red Lodge. Then they spin offs from the Scottish Rite. Like, you know, so you got two different groups of fraternities and sororities, and sometimes they'll almost have the same call letters and be on the same campus, and you will have one mistaken for the other, because they always try to undermine you, like by changing the names or making the names slightly closely related to the righteous ones. Christopher Columbus was a Tawny Moor, and he was led on his voyage by a blackamoor named Peter the Black, or Pietro del Negro, or Peter the Nigger, whatever the fuck you want to call him. The White Hats is a group of retired military personnel in conjunction with active military generals who discovered the fraud and was more inclined to fight against the machine, so to speak, and then support the oppression of the people they swore to defend and protect. They believed one thing when they was taking their oath, but their corporation was telling them something else. Well, they didn't like that shit, and they got a lot of retired generals is very pissed about the deception, and they got a lot of close comrades to still active duty that was also pissed when they all discovered the fraud. So this is what caused them to come together, and this is how they was able to wrestle control of the military-industrial complex out of the hands of George Herbert Walker Bush and the Prescott family and the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, who was working for the black nobility of Europe in establishing it in order to have a military stronghold over here, so that we could never come from under the oppression. But that shit don't work. We ain't that goddamn dumb. And then you fucked around and you let some pale faces that gave a fuck about these brown faces get in positions of power and see what the fuck they was doing. And just like I told y'all, all skin folk ain't kin folk, but every motherfucker that don't look like you ain't your enemy either. Right? They use pale faces to block the institutions of learning, of finance, which is the banks, and for motherfucking social, which is politics, which is your city council, governments, and your school boards, We was all being blocked by pale faces from being able to get into any of those positions. So this is what was the cause of the Ellis Island immigration when they say Europe dumped out everybody they had on their streets and sent them over here because it was a all pink motherfuckers on deck scenario. Everybody that looked like the motherfuckers they blocking the institution. If you ever want some shit called freedom on earth, come over here and we gonna overrun these institutions with friendly faces and they gonna drag their motherfucking secrets out in the open too, like Madam H.P. Blavatsky or Aleister Crowley or Franz Bardone or Rudolph Steiner, motherfuckers that went in there and got that shit like Manly P. motherfucking Hall, like motherfucking Henry Ford, that went what's the motherfucking name? Napoleon Hill, the Carnegie family who financed Napoleon Hill to get all of their secrets out, as many as you can, on how to keep your motherfucking self successful. And we gonna put all this shit in the public domain because they're not gonna keep Earth oppressed. It was a lot of people that didn't look like us that did a lot of work to liberate people that look like us. But it's a lot of people that look like us that did a lot of work to we don't never get free. So y'all gotta realize this shit don't got nothing to do with this right here. Don't have nothing to do with it. This don't have nothing to do with it. It's what's in here. This the shit that matter. What's in this motherfucker? What your heart made of? Y'all sit here, y'all don't realize. Go back and check out every motherfucking slave revolt, rebellion, or insurrection. It's going to always be somebody that don't look like us tell us, you know y'all a slave, right? If you want me to help you get free, I give you some guns, I give you some ammo, what you need. And then as soon as he get to telling us what we need to get free, some motherfucker look like us roll right in there and say, hey, Mauser, they plotting to escape on you, boss. I comes in to give them all up so I can get my motherfucking pension. Get your bitch ass out of here. And they always was spoiled by a motherfucker that looked like us that did not have our interest at heart. Cause there's no way. The worst thing I discovered in all of this shit was the white man ain't white. That hurt my feelings so motherfucking bad. You could not imagine that I could say some niggas did this shit. That's the most upsetting thing, to actually run across that shit, cross-reference it multiple times saying I can't be right, but every time you reference that shit and cross-reference it, say, yep, it was the white man ain't white, some niggas was behind it the whole time, and all it is about right now, who gonna see these motherfuckers for what they is. Kanye with ceremony. Yep. Big Mama, them bingo games and stuff, we be laughing. They be doing whole conjures and playing bingo. Right. Yeah, well, you still got giant. Shaq a fucking giant. If you keep finding black and white feathers in equal proportion, that means that you're finding your balance. The feathers are always messages from our ancestors. Yeah, we do a lot of rituals on accident because we don't consciously remember. Pretty Chin, what you want me to speak on preparation of? My man said my wife reminds me of a beast I seen in my dream. I would need to know the details of the dream to tell you what that mean, Yashan. Whew, I got a whole lot of questions today. If your bloodline was Reynolds from Virginia, they stole y'all plantations and turned them into tobacco companies. They named the J.R. Reynolds Tobacco Company after the Reynolds family, whose birthright and farming rights they overran. They took their shit. But y'all gonna get it back because we know who did it and we know where it's at. I don't know if it's gonna be casinos on the flip, because that's just the artificial means to keep people into a gambling addiction so that they're always gambling on their life, taking chances that's unnecessary. So I don't know if that's gonna even be around. She said she found a split fish head in her freezer and she lived alone and she don't split fish head. That is definitely a sign. I would need more details of like what's going on. I need to ask questions to translate the meaning. Yeah, something going on with Haiti. Haiti striking the death blow. Yeah, if you having bad night sweats, sleeping next to your girl, she activating your mitochondria, I just hope you ain't no 9-volt nigga so she don't short your ass out. This life is an illusion. This is a simulation, a soul trainer. Just like when you go learn how to fly an airplane, you come into this soul simulator to learn how to balance your energies and find your equilibrium in the 3-dimensional construct as a multi-dimensional being. The Egyptians are the Mayans. That means that if you found broken bird eggs in your backyard, you have a nest nearby. And the symbolism of the broken egg that successfully hatch is the maturity of potentials. So you count the number of eggs, you count the people in the house, find out the one that's missing. Because once you find the one that's missing, that's when all of the ones that's present receive the fullness of potential. Night sweats mean varying different things. But he said he only had night sweats when he sleep next to his girl. She's activating his mitochondria, and it happens when y'all are in a passive state, close proximity, and y'all affection for each other match. When y'all got the same affection for each other and it match and y'all sleep next to each other, he experiencing night sweats because she's turning his mitochondria up a little bit at a time. So as she turns it up in the sleep state, because that's when all of your biochemical processes upgrade, is during what we call sleep. Once you mature to a certain level, you only need like 2 or 3 hours of sleep and you be right back at it. Sometimes that's a week, sometimes it's a month. We do fight spiritual wars in our sleep all the time. I ain't gotta watch out for nobody. They better watch the fuck out for what's coming if they fuck with me. I'm gonna have to watch out for a single motherfucker. I'm not worried about nobody. I haven't moved my location and I'm not hard to find, and anybody got their drama, this probably the wrong place to bring the drama because it's probably not the right person to be fucking with. Squirrels in your attic, your attic represents your crown, and the squirrels in your attic mean you have a lot of information blocked in your crown chakra, meaning you got to open your crown to bring the information down. I said, that's not the only thing that she turning up. It means that you might not dream in images, you might dream in feelings. So she said, well, the question was, what happened when you don't dream? Everybody dream. Everybody dream. But it's just like learning styles. Everybody don't dream visually. Some people dream in just sound alone. Some people just dream in feelings alone with no visual or audio. Just feel shit all night long, right? Then some people just sense shit all night long, and they will be under the impression they don't have dreams. But if you don't know the difference in learning styles, you don't know the difference in dreaming styles. So therefore, you would tell somebody some bullshit about why they don't dream. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about, Manson. This is the LSD edition. Lord Stone's disciple. This is a Charlie Manson, Helter Skelter, understand what they doing, and you won't be tricked. Ethiopian New Year. Good news. 9/24. Greetings. Y'all flipping mad signs in the comments, and I'm seeing what they meaning in real time. So one of the things that gave us a heads up for the 24th, which I don't know if anything will happen or not, but one of the speakers overseas, one of the heads of state or chancellors or some shit like that, said that this is going to be a day that you're going to know exactly what you was doing when the shit hit the fan. That's what he said, basically. So everybody's watching. But I don't know. This shit should have been hit the fan because it stink real bad, like it didn't turn rancid or something. So, yeah. So we going from the silver age into the golden age. The Silver Age is a rediscovering of what's been lost. So it's a artificially induced Kali Yuga at the end, right before the close of the age, because somebody's job out of Big Mama house is to find who got conjures open and make them close that shit out. And don't matter what you do, they got to close that shit out though. They got to agree to close the dirty conjures out at the close of the age, because if they remain open, it sends a reverse vortex of energy, and it's not going to turn out good for that family line. So, anyway, we going to go over something I went over once before about a year ago, and it's the Charles Manson story. There's a version that they tell us, but they tell us the real deal at the same time they tell us that the man was insane. You know, Charles Manson is the first so-called whistleblower / conspiracy theorist. He the first one. In 1960s, he was in a CIA experiment for mind control and manipulation of groups of people, right? And there was another guy also in the class with him. You know him by the name of Joseph Sinkyu, from kidnapping Patty Hearst and forming the SLA, Symbionese Liberation Army. Anyway, in this class where they teaching them mind control and how to use LSD to give guided meditations in altered states of consciousness. Basic shaman training. But instead of using the peyote or the toadstool, they was using a manufactured version called LSD. So while they was doing this, they teaching him all of the shit that they about to do. Yep, MK Ultra. They are teaching him how they using the chemicals in the water based off MK Ultra experiments. They found that the chemical fluoride is a byproduct of aluminum production. If you got an aluminum pan in your kitchen and you run your finger across it, fluoride is the gray stuff that'll be residual on your finger. That's aluminum fluoride. Okay. The fluoride causes the body to go into protection mode, and it consumes the pineal gland with a waxy substance. If a waxy substance stays on the pituitary gland too long, it makes the individual compliant and susceptible to follow orders because they've been cut off from their higher consciousness in the process. So they explained how it worked to Charles Manson. They explained that how they were planning to cause a race war at the close of the age to prove a point about their control over the masses using the media. So they told him about his opponent, who was going to get an army of melanated men, and he was to get an army of pale-skinned men, and they were supposed to go to war with each other. So now they setting them up, and while they setting them up, remember, all of this time Charles Manson's supposed to be on parole when he's forming what's known as the Manson family.